If you didn't grab one, there's a sheet of paper that lists who will be speaking, their name, respective agency. Additionally, on that is names of people that were directly involved with clearing these cases. They're standing to my right here. They did the lion's share of the work and really should be commended. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Once the prepared statements are done, we will have an opportunity for you to ask questions. I would just ask that you wait till then. I will field the questions and we'll kind of defer to our in-house experts on that. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Waters.
Again, thank you so much. Welcome to Menomonee Falls. We're gathered here today to announce the clearance of a several decades old homicide in the village of Menomonee Falls. It's actually our first homicide in Menomonee Falls and our oldest homicide, obviously. Give you the details of the homicide that I'll speak to. It's on Thursday, November 3rd, 1966 at about 5:10 p.m. Diane Olkwitz, who was 19 years old at the time, was found deceased in the shop area of Kenworth Manufacturing, located at N56 W1377 Silver Spring Drive in the village of Menomonee Falls. Diane Olkwitz was one of approximately 25 employees at the business. Her shift ended at 4:30 p.m. every day. She was the only employee after 3:30. All the other employees left at 3:30. After her shift, Diane was supposed to pick up a friend in nearby business in Menomonee Falls, and the two would drive home. She never showed up, so her friend got a ride back to Kenworth Manufacturing and saw her vehicle present. Eventually, fellow employees came back to Kenworth Manufacturing. They made entry to the building and found Diane deceased. Diane was laying face down and stabbed approximately over 100 times. An autopsy was performed and the cause of death was ruled as excessive blood loss due to multiple stab wounds. The Menomonee Falls Department's investigation included collecting evidence from the victim, and that would later prove a key role in solving this crime through advancements in DNA science. Numerous persons of interest and potential suspects, approximately 20 to 30, have been identified throughout the past 50-plus years. Detectives assigned to this investigation have pursued those leads and oftentimes received DNA samples, hair samples, and/or fingerprint cards from those persons to be sent for analysis. The Menomonee Falls Police Department has continued to work this unsolved homicide for the past 56 years. It has always been our goal to solve this case. We've always had a detective assigned to this case. From the initial officers to the detectives investigating this case, our goal was to identify the person who murdered Diane Olkwitz. Our latest primary investigator is Detective Chris Bellows. We followed up on every lead and investigative avenue. This included keeping up with the advancements of DNA analysis techniques. In January 2001, the suspect's DNA profile was uploaded to the CODIS database with no investigative leads. In March 2020, the Wisconsin Crime Lab developed a YSTR profile to be utilized to conduct familial DNA search within CODIS. The familial DNA search in CODIS resulted in no investigative leads. In December of 21, detectives of the Menomonee Falls Police Department and detectives of the Milwaukee Police Department submitted a joint request to the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory requesting the profile developed from the Olkwitz case be used for comparison to several Milwaukee cold cases. With the assistance of the FBI, the Wisconsin Department of Justice, and the Milwaukee Police Department, Detective Bellows and the investigative team utilized commercial genetic testing to locate distant relatives of the suspect. After countless hours of investigation, a search warrant was obtained for an exhumation. The Wisconsin Crime Lab authored a report stating that the suspect's DNA profile from the Olkwitz homicide and the Erdman homicide was consistent with DNA profile of Clarence Marcus Tappenforth, born 7/16 of 27. Clarence was 39 years of age at the time of the Olkwitz homicide in 66 and 43 years of age at the time of the Erdman homicide in 71. A review of the Olkwitz case file revealed that during the week following the Olkwitz homicide, in November of 66, investigators sent questionnaire forms to all of the companies identified as having made pickups and deliveries at Kenworth Manufacturing, where Diane was killed. Claremont Transfer of Milwaukee replied to this request and completed the questionnaire. The questionnaire indicated that the company did not have any deliveries or pickups on the day of Diane's death. The most recent delivery was made to Kenworth on October 31st by delivery driver Clarence Tappenforth. Additionally, the company indicated that on November 3rd, 1966, the date of Diane's death, Clarence Tappenforth made a delivery located across the street from Kenworth Manufacturing. Based on the irrefutable physical evidence, it's the position of the Menomonee Falls Police Department that Clarence Tappenforth is responsible for the murder of Diane Olkwitz. On behalf of the Menomonee Falls Police Department, I'd like to thank the Milwaukee Police Department, the FBI, the state of Wisconsin, for their cooperation in this case. Finally, and most importantly, we would like to thank the Olkwitz family for their assistance, patience, and perseverance. Our thoughts are with the Olkwitz family, and we hope the conclusion of this case provides some measure of closure. At this time, I'd bring up Chief Norman to talk about the Terry Erdman homicide.
Good morning, all. Just like to first start off by expressing on behalf of the Milwaukee Police Department our deepest condolences to the families. I know that this is not ever going to be able to bring back your loved ones, but hopefully that this will provide some level of closure and some healing in regards to this particular horrendous incident. In regards to Erdman, we know that a couple of years later, she was found stabbed 60 times to death after leaving a friend's home, and that there was a passerby who had found her, which is not something that we ever, as parents, ever want to see in regards to a loved one who is unfortunately taken from this world too soon. I know that I would like to recognize Detective Keller, our lead investigator for the Milwaukee Police Department, for working with the Menomonee Falls and also our federal, state, and local partners in regards to bringing this particular case to a close. This is an example of the collaborative work between the federal level, the state level, the local level, in regards to that. The new strategies nowadays is not, intelligence-led policing, it's collaboration. Working with each other, exchange information, understand that we have resources to become a force multiplier. I know there's other families out there wondering about what about their case. I hope this is an example. There is no statute of limitations in regards to a homicide investigation. We will work on it, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 70 years, to bring closure, to bring a resolution to these most heinous crimes. So again, on behalf of the Milwaukee Police Department, I'd like to thank my partners, I'd like to thank Chief Waters, and also my federal and state partners, and also our local investigators in regards to that. This is something that, working together, putting together the particular type of resources that we have respectively, and knowing that together we are able to bring, again, closure to the most heinous crimes in our state. I'd like to now bring up the Special Agent in Charge, Michael Hensley, and he'll speak to the federal level in this investigation.
Thank you, Chief, and good morning. Again, my name is Michael Hensel. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for the FBI for the state of Wisconsin. Today represents the promise fulfilled. And what that is that working together with our state and local partners, as you've heard, we are able to bring these cases to justice. Doesn't matter how long, doesn't matter the amount of resources. It certainly doesn't impact what we do each day, that we don't forget. And for the families of our victims, our condolences. 60 years is a long time, but we don't forget. As you heard, our Menomonee Falls Department has always had a case agent assigned. What this also represents is the use of technology to bring these cases to fruition. And first, I'd like to start by highlighting that the FBI in 2019 began working investigative genealogy cases, cold cases, if you will, cases that have gone unsolved. In 2021, the FBI for the state of Wisconsin was the first office in the United States to have a United States government-funded task force focused on cold cases. Since then, we've had dozens of successes. But as Chief Norman said, there's plenty more out there. We need to know about them. We need to work with our local partners. And it's something we do every day to have results like we stand here and talk about. I specifically want to highlight our case agent, Mary Davison, who runs our investigative genealogy task force, our cold case task force out of the FBI with our state and local partners, DCI, Green Bay PD is a member of that as well. And it's something we look to expand so that we can focus on bringing these cases to fruition. There's no easy way when a subject or a subject goes unknown, or that we have victims that we can't bring resolution to the families. It takes time. This technology is the next generation of ability to use DNA to identify leads. And that's what this is. We use this advanced DNA to figure out where should we be looking. Look at old cases. It really has progressed over the last 20 years, our ability to do this. And it shows that if you are perpetrating a crime, it doesn't matter when or where. And it may not be something we can solve right away, but it's something that in years to come, it's something that we'll continue to focus on. From a federal government standpoint, we can't do this without our local partners. What we do is bring resources. We have about 250 employees in the state. We have 6 offices. So we're here to provide a resource to the state of Wisconsin. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Attorney General Call. And I want to thank both the Milwaukee Police Department, the Menomonee Falls Police Department for being partners with us. And again, condolences to the family. And with that, I'll turn it over.
Well, first, thank you to the Menomonee Falls Police Department, to our other partners who are here, and to everybody who's in attendance today. I would like to add my condolences to the Erdman family and the Oakwitz family. These were terrible, terrible crimes that impacted not only the victims, but the family members who have waited for decades for justice in this case. And it saddens me that the person responsible wasn't able to be brought to justice while he was alive. But I'm glad that we were able to bring closure to this case through the relentless effort of investigators and scientists to ensure that the person responsible was identified. At DOJ, I'd like to mention some of the folks who are critical to making this case, to getting the result we did. First, Patricia Dabrowski at our state crime labs, thank you for your work. Neil McGrath, Senior Special Agent with our Division of Criminal Investigation, and the Wisconsin Statewide Intelligence Center for the critical role that it played in helping to solve this case. DCI joined the team to help solve these cases in 2021. Our crime labs have actually been involved in this since the very beginning, more than 50 years ago. And to be able to see this to its conclusion is really remarkable. So thank you to not only the individuals I mentioned, but to our Division of Criminal Investigation, as well as our Forensic Sciences Division, and all of our partners who were part of this work. Investigators were able to finally link a suspect to these 2 homicides by means of a relatively new investigative technique, forensic investigative genetic genealogy. This technique combines genetic testing with traditional genealogical research to generate investigative leads in unsolved violent crime cases. It's important to note that forensic investigative genetic genealogy is only used as an investigative lead. It's similar to when we receive an anonymous tip and follow up on the information that's received. It can help to focus law enforcement in a particular direction. But then in this case, as in other cases in which forensic investigative genetic genealogy is used, the traditional techniques used in investigations need to be part of solving the case. Here they were used to obtain DNA, to compare the suspect's DNA, and ultimately to find matches. The advancements in technology and the engaging collaboration between all the agencies represented here today, as well as voluntary help from citizens, are the reason we now have some answers for the Oakwitz family and the Erdman family. And we certainly look forward to continuing to work with these partners as we move forward with this technology. And I just want to echo a few points in closing that you heard from the others who've spoken today. First, this would not be possible without collaboration among law enforcement agencies. We were able to link cases across multiple jurisdictions. The labs worked with investigators. We, again, as you heard, had local, state, and federal investigators who were a part of making this happen. That kind of collaboration is essential to effective law enforcement and to keeping our communities safe. Second, this was only able to be achieved because of the relentless commitment of investigators to solving this case. I hope this sends a message that law enforcement will not give up on solving these cases no matter how long it takes, whether it is days, months, or even decades. That kind of commitment is what I see from law enforcement officers around the state, and it is vital. And then third, I want to highlight the critical role that technology played in this investigation. This case could not have been solved using these techniques until recently. Technology continues to evolve, and that improves the ability of law enforcement to hold perpetrators accountable. So those who commit crime should know that the abilities of law enforcement continue to increase, our abilities to identify suspects continues to increase, and our ability to hold those who commit crimes accountable continues to increase. We look forward to continue using those technologies to solve cases as we move forward. So again, my condolences to the families, and thank you to everybody who was a part of getting us to where we are today. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to the captain.
We do have a limited time. Does anybody have any questions for anybody up here? Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why these girls were stabbed? Has that been solved?
That is not, that would simply be speculation on our part. Yes, sir.
You were able to basically triangulate his DNA from his dead brother and his son. Did his son voluntarily giving up the DNA crack this case?
I'll let them speak to it. I know they did obtain the DNA voluntarily. As far as cracking the case, that was a key component in solving this case, yes. Yes.
Can you talk about how new this type of technology is?
We'd like to handle that one. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chris Bellows. I'm a detective here for the Menomonee Falls Police Department. I think it was mentioned before that this is a new investigative technique, and this was starting to be utilized in as recent as 2019. So it's still fairly new.
When did you realize these two cases were linked?
Chris, I'll keep, just see up
Sure.
here.
Okay. We first learned that these cases were linked in December of 2021. Let's go ahead.
Come back to me, sorry.
Sure.
Is there any reason to believe that there may be other victims that this man could have done this to other people that are still inside?
As of today's date, we have evidence that can definitively link Diane Olkwitz and Terry Erdman's cases together. Our investigative team is going to continue to work with other agencies that have unsolved homicides from that era and assist them in any manner that we can. And obviously it's our goal to potentially identify any other cases that may be linked to Clarence Tappendorf. Go ahead.
Just so I'm clear, you mentioned relatives in commercial genetic techniques. The relatives of the suspect or the perpetrator gave their DNA to a service like 23andMe, and then that was accessed by investigators to as my colleague said, triangulate the perpetrator's DNA. Is that
In a sense, our investigative team would identify potential distant relatives of our suspect, and we would go out and we'd make contact with them. We would ask for their cooperation. We'd explain our investigation to them, and we would ask if they'd be willing to share their DNA information with us to further our investigation further. And for the most part, we had great success with cooperation. Go ahead.
Just to be clear, Tappendorf only became got on police radar with the DNA. He was never considered a suspect.
Correct. He was identified as a suspect in early part of 2023. Yeah.
Can you talk about where his DNA goes from there? Does it get uploaded into CODIS, and then does that potentially connect him if he is connected to other murders?
Yeah.
Mr. Tappendorf's DNA as a suspect is only made as a connection through the case. The DNA profile within CODIS and the databank is actually the evidentiary profile developed from Ms. Olkwitz. So that profile is consistent with Mr. Tappendorf, and the evidence profile is the one that stays in CODIS, not Mr. Tappendorf's. But we know there is a link.
Yes.
Clear on the timeline, did investigators identify Tappendorf as the killer before, and then go back to these trials and find his name in those questionnaires in the initial investigations?
Chris, you can speak to that. I believe it was a simultaneous.
Yeah, it was as the captain said, simultaneous. So once we identified Clarence Tappendorf as a suspect, we submitted the DNA to the crime lab for analysis, and then in the meantime, because we had to wait some time, we went back and we started reviewing the case file, looking for his name.
If there's no other questions, this concludes our news conference. We again send our condolences out to the Olkwitz and Erdman family, and thank you for being here to help provide this information and share with the community. So thank you very much.